We're told that sine of 1 plus cos squared x plus sine to the 4x is 3/5. And from this, we're expected to deduce the value of cos of 1 plus sine squared x plus cos to the 4x. And we're not allowed to use a calculator. This seems almost impossible, but in fact, we can work this one out. Here's how we do this. Let's first call this thing here in the brackets alpha. And the first thing I'm going to claim is that this thing here is also alpha. How do I prove this? Well, let's start with what alpha is defined to be. So 1 plus cos squared x plus sine to the 4x. And all I'm going to do is add and subtract the same thing at the end. So I'm going to subtract off cos to the 4x and then just add it on again like so, which isn't changing its value. But now if I focus on this thing here, I can just apply the difference of two squares. So if I use a bit of shorthand notation, here's going to be 1 plus c squared plus s to the 4 minus c to the 4, using the difference of two squares. That's just that guy there. And then I've got plus c to the 4 there. Cool. S squared plus c squared, sine squared plus cos squared, that's 1. So I can just ignore that because it's 1 times something. And then this negative c squared and this plus c squared are going to cancel. And I'm just left with 1 plus s squared plus c to the 4, like so. And that's precisely what I have here. Great, so this thing here is simply cos of alpha. Okay, great. We know sine of alpha is 3/5. How do we work out cos alpha? Well, we can use the trigonometric identity. Sine squared alpha plus cos squared alpha is always equal to 1. So if we just sub in 3/5 in here and rearrange, we get cos squared alpha is 16 over 25. And so cos alpha is 4 over 5. But remember, we went from a square to just without a square. So we've got to bear in mind that that could be negative as well. So cos alpha is either positive 4/5 or negative 4/5. The question is, which one is it and why? We can actually work that one out as well. Let's look at what alpha is, and it doesn't really matter which definition we use. Let's use the original one. 1 plus cos squared x plus sine to the 4x. So cos squared x is the same as 1 minus sine squared x. So I can write this as 2 minus sine squared x plus sine to the 4x. Okay, and if I just kind of complete the square on this, this is going to be s squared minus a half squared, and then minus 1/4 plus 2. Simplifying that, s squared minus a half squared minus 1/4 plus 2 is 7/4. Great, so we know that alpha is at least 7 over 4. It's the maximum that alpha can be. Well, we can have a look at this thing here and see that this is s squared minus a half, and then we're squaring it. So in order for this to be as big as possible, we need s squared to be as far away from a half as possible. But s is just sine x, or s squared will just be sine squared x, so it's only going between 0 and 1. So the furthest it can get away from a half is if sine squared x is 0, or if sine squared x is 1. It doesn't really matter, in which case that will be a half. When you square it, you get 1/4. And this will be 8/4, which is 2. Cool, so alpha is between 7/4 and 2. In particular, we can say that alpha, because 7 over 4 is 1.75, it's bigger than pi over 2 because pi is slightly bigger than 3. Pi over 2 is slightly bigger than 1.5. So we can say with confidence that alpha is definitely bigger than pi over 2, and 2 is definitely less than pi. And so alpha is between pi over 2 and pi, and so therefore cos of alpha must be negative. And so therefore cos of alpha is negative 4/5.